Against the burn first time I met Chen. I was cutting firebreak on Mount Hood while a thousand-acre wildfire raced toward us, and he was photographing. A trapped elk heard instead of evacuating. Spotted him through the smoke crouched behind a telephoto. Lens maybe 200 yards from the burn line. Completely focused on his shot while ash rained down and the fire roared through timber. Like a living thing. Even from a distance, I could see he was soaked in sweat, face smudged with soot, black hair falling across his forehead, completely oblivious to the fact that he was about to be overrun. Clear the area. I yelled into my radio, already moving. Civilian on the North Ridge, too close to the line. My crew chief's response crackled back. Hayes, we're pulling out in 5. Get him and go. I ran through smoke and heat. Pulaski axe over my shoulder. Lungs burning even through my respirator. When I reached him, he was still shooting click. Adjust. Click documenting elk trying to flee through a wall of flames. You need to leave. I grabbed his arm now. He jerked away, didn't even look at me. Just 2 more shots, the light's perfect, and these elk are going to die. And so are you if you don't move. I physically blocked his camera. I'm Logan Hayes, Oregon Hotshot crew, and I'm ordering you to evacuate. That made him look. His eyes were dark brown, intense, framed by long lashes and currently furious. Those elk are part of a documented herd that's been displaced 3 times this season. If I don't get this footage, their story dies too. Better their story than you. I grabbed his camera back. We have maybe 90 seconds before this ridge is compromised. Walk or I carry you. You wouldn't. I absolutely would have. But he must have seen something in my face because he swore in what sounded like Mandarin, grabbed his equipment, and started moving. We ran through smoke so thick I could barely see my hand, following my GPS and instinct toward the safe zone while the fire chased us, and trees exploded from the heat. We made it to the evacuation point with maybe 30 seconds to spare. My crew was loading into trucks, ready to retreat to the next defensible line. I shoved the photographer toward a vehicle. Get him out, I told Rodriguez, my partner. I'll take the tail vehicle. You sure? Rodriguez eyed the smoke. Fire's moving fast. I'm sure. Go. They went. I was about to follow when I realized the photographer hadn't gotten in the truck. He was standing at the edge of the clearing, camera raised, shooting the advancing fire like it was art instead of death. Are you insane? I stormed over. That truck was your ride out. I got caught in the moment. He lowered the camera, and for the first time I saw fear under the determination. Sorry. When I see something that needs to be documented, I can't walk away. Even if it kills you. Especially then. He met my eyes. That's when it matters most. I should have been furious. Should have radioed for another vehicle, filed an incident report about civilian interference. Instead I said, get in my truck. We're taking the long way out. But here's what I didn't know then. Chen wasn't reckless. He was precise. Every risk he took was calculated. Every shot he captured served a purpose larger than himself. He documented endangered species and climate disasters because someone had to bear witness. Someone had to show the world what was burning. And I was about to spend the next 48 hours learning exactly what that dedication looked like up close. The long way out turned into no way out, when a sudden wind shift sent the fire racing across our escape route. 1 minute we were driving down a fire road. The next we were boxed in by walls of flame on 3 sides. Shit. I killed the engine. Assessed our options. All bad. We can't drive through that. So what do we do? Asher's voice was steady despite the fear in his eyes. There's a fire shelter about a mile north. Old ranger station with a cleared perimeter. If we can reach it before the fire does, then let's go. We went. Through smoke and heat and falling ash. My Pulaski clearing small obstacles while Asher carried both our packs and his camera equipment. For a guy who looked like he spent his life behind a lens, he moved well, quick, efficient. No complaints even when the terrain got rough. The ranger station was exactly where I remembered. Small log cabin with metal roof, surrounded by cleared ground that had been maintained for exactly this scenario. We got inside, checked the structure. Solid, old but solid. We're going to be okay, I said. More for myself than him. Building's defensible. Perimeter's clear. Fire will burn around us and move on. How long? 6 hours. Maybe 8. I started checking supplies, emergency water, med kit, fire blankets. You got food in that pack. Protein bars and trail mix. He was already unpacking. And before you ask, yes, I know I'm an idiot for not evacuating earlier. You don't have to tell me. I wasn't going to. You were thinking it. Yeah. I sat against the wall, bone tired. But I'm also thinking you got some incredible footage of those elk. So, maybe you're an idiot with a purpose. That surprised the laugh out of him. That's the nicest thing anyone said to me this year. You must know some real assholes. I'm a wildlife photographer who specializes in climate disaster documentation. Most people think I'm either a hero or a lunatic. He settled across from me, started checking his camera equipment. What do you think? I studied him in the dim light, smudged face, determined eyes, hands that handled expensive equipment with the same care I handled my tools. I think you're dedicated. Maybe too dedicated, but I get it. Yeah? He looked up. Because from where I'm sitting, we're the same. You run into fires when everyone else runs out. That's different. That's my job. And this is mine. He held up his camera, showing people what's happening to the planet, making them care enough to act. That elk herd, they're losing habitat because of warming temperatures and increased fire frequency. If I can capture that, show their struggle, maybe someone with power gives a damn. The conviction in his voice made my chest tight. Has it worked? The documentation. Sometimes. I got the Mount Hood Wildlife Corridor protected last year because of a series one did on displaced species. 3,000 acres preserved. He paused. Worth risking my life for? That's a hell of a question. He didn't answer it. Yeah. I met his eyes. It was worth it. But next time, maybe wait for the fire to pass before you start shooting. Where's the drama in that? He was smiling now, tired but genuine. You got a girlfriend or boyfriend who's going to be worried when you don't check in. The question was casual, but loaded. No girlfriend. Had a boyfriend in college, but it didn't survive him moving to Seattle. You, no one. I travel too much. Work too much. Same story you're probably about to tell me about yourself. He wasn't wrong. How long have you been doing this? The photography? Since I was 16. Grew up in Portland, parents wanted me to be a doctor or lawyer. Typical Asian family pressure. Instead, I got a camera and started documenting homeless camps in downtown. Then environmental issues. Then climate disasters. He leaned back. They're still waiting for me to get a real job. Saving species seems pretty real to me. Try telling them that. But he was smiling. What about you? How does someone become a hotshot? Same as anyone. Wanted to do work that mattered. Dad was Forest Service, taught me to respect the woods. When I saw what fires could do, how they could destroy in hours, what took decades to grow, I wanted to fight back. Joined up at 21. Been running toward fires ever since. We really are the same, Asher said quietly. Just different tools. We talked through the night while the fire burned around us. About Portland, his childhood in the city, mine in the rural outskirts. About climate change and how it felt to watch the planet burning in real time. About the specific kind of loneliness that comes from caring too much about work. Most people don't understand. Round our 4. When the fire was at its peak and the heat inside the cabin was almost unbearable, Asher said, "Can I ask you something personal?" Shoot. Why are you looking at me like that? My stomach dropped. Like what? Like, he gestured vaguely. Like you're trying to figure me out. You've been doing it since the cabin. I could lie. Should lie. Instead, I'm trying to figure out if you're as brave as you seem, or if you're just really good at hiding fear. Both. He shifted closer. I'm terrified right now. But I'm also. He stopped. Started again. I'm also really glad I'm stuck here with you instead of alone. Yeah? My voice came out rougher than intended. Yeah. He was close now. Close enough that I could see sweat on his temple. The way his pupils were dilated in the low light. And I'm trying to figure out if you're flirting with me or if I'm projecting. Because we're trapped in a fire together and adrenaline does weird things. Definitely flirting. I said. Have been since you refused to evacuate. His laugh was surprised and real. That's a weird thing to find attractive. You're a weird guy, says the man who runs into forest fires for a living. He was smiling now. The fear replaced by something warmer. Logan, I should tell you I'm terrible at relationships. I disappear for weeks on assignment. I cancel plans for photo opportunities. I've been told I care more about endangered species than people, do you? Sometimes. Yeah, he met my eyes. But I think I could care about you, if you gave me a chance. I kissed him there in that ranger cabin while the wildfire raged outside. His lips were dry from smoke, his hand coming up to grip my shirt, pulling me closer. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. That was, Asher started. Yeah, we should definitely. We kissed again, deeper this time, his hands in my hair and mine on his waist, tasting smoke and sweat and something that was just him. When we finally pulled apart to breathe, he rested his forehead against mine. I've never done this before, he admitted. Kissed someone while trapped in a fire. First time for everything. Good first time. Best first time. I held him close. Now let's survive this so we can do it again. The fire burned for another 4 hours before moving past us. When we emerged at dawn, the world was black and smoking trees reduced to skeletons. ground covered in ash. The smell of destruction everywhere. Jesus, Asher whispered. Camera already raised to document the devastation. Come on. I grabbed his hand. Let's get back to base before my crew chief sends a search party. We hiked through the burn zone. Radio silent because my battery had died in the heat. When we finally reached the fire line, my entire crew turned to stare. Hayes, Rodriguez ran over. We thought when you didn't check in. Had to shelter in place. Lost radio power. I clapped his shoulder. Everyone okay. Fire's 70% contained. No injuries. But he looked at Asher. Is this the photographer? Yeah. Asher Chen. I squeezed Asher's hand before letting go, aware we had an audience. He's the reason we got cut off. I was documenting endangered elk, Asher said defensively. It's important. It's stupid. Rodriguez cut him, but his tone was more amused than angry. But at least you got good footage, right? The best. Asher pulled out his camera, showed Rodriguez the screen. Look at the sequence. I watched them talk photography and wildlife while my crew packed up. Watched Asher's eyes light up explaining his work. Watched Rodriguez actually listen and ask questions. Watched my world and Asher's world start to overlap. He's cute, Rodriguez said later. Quiet enough that only I heard. The photographer. You too. Maybe. Yeah. I didn't have words for what we were. You kissed him. Rodriguez guessed. In the shelter? How did you? You've got that look. Like you found something worth keeping. He grinned. About time, Hayes. You've been alone too long. He wasn't wrong. Asher and I exchanged numbers before he headed back to Portland for editing, and I returned to my crew's temporary base. But we texted constantly. How's the footage? Incredible. Might win awards you deserve at coffee when you're off shift. Absolutely. 3 days later, I showed up at his Portland apartment in my civilian clothes, jeans, and flannel, smelling like soap instead of smoke for once. He opened the door in paint-stained work pants and a graphic tee, glasses on, hair messy. You wear glasses, I said stupidly. Only for editing. He pulled me inside. You're early. Wanted to see you? I kissed him against his door, felt him smile against my mouth. Missed you. It's been 3 days. Long 3 days. We spent that weekend in his apartment, him editing fire footage while I cooked meals, and told him stories about my crew. We talked about everything. About his family's disappointment that he wasn't a doctor. About my dad's pride that I joined the Forest Service. About being queer in rural Oregon versus urban Portland. About the specific fear of doing dangerous work and having no one to come home to. I want to come home to you, Asher said on Sunday night, sprawled on his couch with his head in my lap. When I'm out on assignment, and it gets scary, I want to think about you waiting. I'm gone weeks at a time during fire season, I warned. I can't promise I'll always be here. But when you are, he looked up at me. Can I have you then? Yeah. I ran my fingers through his hair. You can have me then. Astor's 5 months latter fire season ended in late October with the first heavy rains. I came off my last deployment exhausted and smoke damaged. Stumbled into Asher's apartment at midnight and found him waiting. Hey, he said, pulling me close. You survived. Barely. I held him tight. Missed you. Missed you too. He led me to the shower, helped me wash off weeks of dirt and smoke and exhaustion. Then to bed, where we just held each other. I got something for you, he said later. Wrapped around me in the dark. A print. From the elk series. Yeah? Won an award. International Wildlife Photography Competition. They're using it for climate advocacy campaigns. His voice was thick with emotion. You saved my life so I could take that shot. Thought you should have a copy. You saved your own life. I just helped. We saved each other. He kissed my shoulder. That's how this works, right? 5 months after meeting in a wildfire. Lying in bed with a wildlife photographer who understood that. Some things were worth risking everything for. I realized something. We both spent our lives running toward danger alone. Maybe it was time to run toward it together. That's not a bad plan. That's not bad at all.